Actually, when I was living amongst, you're not going to believe this. It's hilarious even to say out loud, but I was living amongst traditional Zulu tribes in a remote village in South Africa, and I kid you
You
not.
know what, Shane, I'm sorry. We've people have lived amongst pygmies, all sorts of marine life. Like, so, there's room for everybody here. So,
There is.
you're with the Zulus, bring them along.
Okay, but the wildest part is this traditional off the grid Zulu tribal leader is the one that helped me rethink my email of all things. And I think sometimes it takes that kind of disconnect to realize how backwards we're actually using common everyday tech. Email was actually originally invented as a relationship building tool. Today, it's almost entirely transactional. We send like
Yeah.
one line, one word emails to get what we need, or Slack messages, whatever it is. And so this elder helped me realize that I was missing a key component, especially for my remote teams. And that's what we called a hook. And so now almost every single email, 90% of the time when I'm writing to someone, right after I write their name, hey, Seth, I write what I call a hook, which has nothing to do with the contents of the email, but it's something personal, sometimes an open-ended question, sometimes an icebreaker, just to kind of recognize you're human, I'm human, we're having a human experience. So one of my favorites, especially on Mondays, is, hey, what was one highlight from your weekend? And a lot of people don't ignore it, right? Like they don't even respond to it. They just go
Sure.
to right to the main message in the
Right
email.
to the transaction.
Let me tell you, it matters. Like these hooks matter. And I had an employee at my last company. I was doing this hook, and he was a total A-type personality. Many people like him. Like always ignored the hook, never responded, just wanted to get into the efficiency of work. But then one morning, Monday morning, I asked one highlight from your weekend, and he responded instantaneously, not just with what I'd asked for, but he finished by saying, "Oh, by the way, thanks for asking how my weekend was. Actually, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, so I'm not
Mm,
in a great place right now." And so
mm,
immediately I got on the phone with him, showed up, asked what I could do to better support him if he needed to flex some time. But I know this person, and many people like him. And the amount of courage it would have taken to share that out of the blue is astronomical compared to that door being open, right? And it just
yeah.
being a response to a question.
Yeah.
So even when people ignore your hooks, they matter. Make sure that you're bringing some of that humanity back into your email, especially with remote teams. It's the quickest way to elevate the trust and rapport you need, so they share what's actually going on when they're struggling or when they have wins that are to be
Yeah.
celebrated.
One of the things that I also hear in that is that whether they respond or not, your commitment is, to have that opening, like
Mhm.
the half circle. So you ask, you could send 100 emails. It could be the 101st until, hey, my mom is going through this and I'm not in a great place. But you've softened the ground, you disarm, and you've just been consistently available. It's really beautiful. It's really powerful. That's what I call leadership, where you're available, and then of course you pick up the phone, and you let them be known and heard, and provide what you can, whether it's flex time, as you said, or not. But that's important, because you're right. It is transactional. We've had some others on our podcast that have talked about, and I'm guilty of it. And I've tried. I'm the largest room in the house is room for improvement. One of my rooms for improvement is email. I can often get in the one word or four word response and
Mhm.
move on. And it's not kosher. Not because I look bad, because it's not honoring my team or
Right.
my people I'm communicating with. So
We got to
that's
honor
really cool.
ourselves too, though. This stuff is hard, right? Like to build these habits, that's what they are. But we're talking about, Kearney just did a global study on the lack of joy people are feeling at work. Now, 37% people report feeling any kind of joy at work, which some people out there will say that's not too bad, but that's like a 53% joy gap when you think of the 97% of employees that really they crave a feeling of joy. They expect to feel joy at work on a given day. And the easiest way for us to insert a little more joy is to focus on those more human to human experiences, right? How we're
Yeah.
building that trust, how we're opening up those doors. And a tool I love to use, which psychologists call appropriate self disclosure, is really just knowing when I can also openly share things as a leader myself, right? So maybe
Right.
I'm going through a difficult time right now
Right.
with family, right? And that's
Right.
okay. That doesn't make you weak as a leader. It makes you courageous. It makes you
Right.
strong. Vulnerability is how we start to bridge that divide.
Right. I guess there is a fine line of responsible oversharing, and you have to find that
Sure.
sweet spot and maybe lean on and mentors or other people that you trust to kind of get some guidance on that. But for sure,
Yes,
for
but closing
sure,
off entirely is not the way, right? We are long gone from the era of that cold leadership, right? We need humans at the forefront who share not just the wins, but also some of those struggles and challenges along the way.